Hey, folks, it's Bob Harrison. Hope you guys can hear me. It is Thursday, not Tuesday. Um, we uh, we have a special guest for you tonight. This is not normally our normal show. We normally are with you on Tuesdays. Every Tuesday night, we're here at popculturesquad.com on the Pop Culture Squadcast Live. We were asked to see if we could accommodate a special guest, and darn it, we're gonna. Um, our guest tonight is Tyler Main. We're going to bring him in pretty quick because I know he's busy and we want to get to what he has to talk about. He's a renowned actor, former wrestler, producer, and now comic creator. And the comic book that he has co-created with Christopher Priest and Renee Geerlings, and and a bunch of other great artists. I've read it. It's fantastic. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about what's behind it. We're going to talk about what went into it. And I don't want to keep anybody waiting. I want to get right to this. I want to give him all the time he can get. So we're going to bring Tyler Main into the show as we do for everyone. So welcome to the show. Hi, Tyler. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely.
That was good. I gotta get that more often.
Well, you deserve it. We do that for all our guests. We want to make people feel comfortable and remind everybody all the great things that they've done. Thanks for being here. I want to get right into the Last Spartan. Last Spartan Red Tape is the book that comes out, and let's talk about that. We can talk about some other things if we have time later. But this book was kickstarted in 2023. It is, and I want to read a little bit of. I have the kind of overview for people in the terms of solicitation. It says Frank Kane, the last known survivor of the Last Spartan's MC, walks a perilous path guided by ancient Spartan maxims, but his journey takes otherworldly turns as visions and omens from the gods beckon him to break his parole and risk his freedom to rescue a kidnapped child from the clutches of Atlanta's human trafficking underworld. When determined decoy agent Amanda Harper crosses his path, fed up with government bureaucracy and on a mission to save them all, they both find an unlikely ally in a monumental showdown against an international cartel. I love this story. I was telling my wife as I read it, I got halfway through and I'm like, all right, so this is what happened, and this is what happened, and this is what happened. I can't wait to finish the rest of it. I want to. It's a mix of intents. So it's a powerful story about greed and cruelty and unsought heroism in the face of adversity. I feel a lot of that. Yes. You talk about where the guts of the story came from your perspective.
Yeah, the subject is dealing with human trafficking and human trafficking awareness, and it's based on the novel by John F. Saunders, a buddy of mine. Came across my desk 15 some years ago, and we were going to originally turn it into a film. And then I was playing around with it for probably a decade or so. And then I thought, I'm going to talk to Renee and I'm going to twist her arm and have her put together a great graphic novel for this. And we just started thinking about it and how we wanted to update the book to make it more modern, dealing with technology and stuff that is going on in the world. And so we did that. We teamed up with Christopher Priest, had a lot of meetings with him to discuss the storyline, how we were going to explain it, how we were going to bring this story to the people so that we can make them aware of what's actually going on in the world.
Sure.
And through our all our conversations, I just realized that this is something that I've really got to get involved with, human rights and human trafficking awareness. And so I've teamed up with deliverfund.org, an organization that develops technology for law enforcement to help put an end to human trafficking. And like I was saying, so we teamed up with Christopher Priest and got him on board, and him and I and Renee worked through the story, figured out where we were going to take it. And then I asked Renee to call her old boss, Mark Silvestri, and see if he'd do a nice cover for us.
Well, it's a nice Mark Silvestri cover, I'll tell you that much.
That is, yes. They're very hard to get.
Sure they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's just for everybody who's watching, deliverfund.org/donate is a place where you can go and get some information and help out this cause. There's a link in the comments to that right now if you want to go check it out later on. The other thing that I wanted to talk to you, I mean, I have some, so getting Christopher Priest is interesting, right? So I saw Chris last month when we were at Terrificon. I love him. He wrote some of the greatest comics of my childhood. I remember reading those. I have some Christopher Priest stories that you may not know that I'd love to get to you.
Yeah, so, I'd love to hear them.
So the best Christopher Priest story is this: he had quit comics in the 80s after he left Marvel. He had quit, and my partner, who's not here tonight, Mike Gold, is usually my partner, and he's this was a quick turnaround, so he wasn't available. Yeah, but Mike was an editor. He was an editor at DC at the time, and he hired Chris to come back to comics and work as an assistant editor with him. And he wasn't sure that the comics thing was going to work out. And in the meantime, he had been driving a bus for New Jersey Transit. So he would drive the bus. He didn't want to quit the New Jersey Transit job because in case the comics thing didn't work out again, he would drive the bus to Manhattan, let passengers off, and then change into his DC Comics clothes, go to work for 8 hours, and then go back and then drive the bus for the commuters home on the way back. So that's what he did for months. For a long time, he didn't quit. He kept doing both jobs because that's Christopher Priest for you.
Yeah, that sounds like it.
He goes a million miles a minute, and he's got so many ideas. It's crazy.
Yes, he does. Yeah, and I mean, like we were just talking, and he was the guy that gave Mark Silvestri his shot. And said, "Hey, go do X-Men."
Sure.
And so Christopher's been around for a while. He's
sure.
Mainstay.
He is, and let me tell you, there's so many things in this book. There's some pieces, and we'll get to some more of the story later. But there's a couple of other things that really stuck out at me. Like, I don't want to spoil the joke, but there is the Kato joke in there is hilarious because you're not expecting that joke to just pop out at you, and you're like, okay, sure, it's really good. And the other thing that was interesting to me, I don't know if you know this. So the main character's name is Frank Kane, right? His real name though that's a shortening of his name. So the longer pronunciation of his name is Kaniger.
Yes.
I mean, that's a comics reference, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, and it seems like something that Chris would throw in there in that way. So
yes,
I love that. I love the fact that name is thrown in there in this book talking about horrible things.
Yes. Yeah. Christopher is great for stuff like that, peppering things all the way through. It's just being able to work with, such an icon like Christopher was fantastic. I learned a lot. This was my first comic book graphic novel that I ever took part in writing,
What was that experience like, working with not only just the writer, but the artists and color work and getting pages in and seeing lettering? Troy, the letterer, is a friend of mine too, and I love Troy's work. He's fantastic.
Yeah, Troy is amazing. Yeah, he was a godsend on this. The whole process of putting the story together and just understanding, like you have to know how that page, when that page turns, you have to have a reveal on the other side, and just timing those things out. I wasn't used to, as
Sure.
writing a script or for a film or TV or something like that. So working with Christopher was fantastic, in being able to learn that and see that, and just learning to put all that together. And then you get your first pages in, and I was like a kid in a candy store, just like going through it and just absorbing it all. And it was just fantastic to be able to see that come together, and I'm enjoying it so much that we're carrying on the story of the Last Spartan, and we have our next issue that will be coming out at the beginning of next year, which is the Last Spartan Lone Wolf.
Yeah. So that was something I was totally going to get to.
Yeah,
Because you hinted at it. There were some hints in there, as that there might be more. So there's this book is 128 pages or something like that. It's 3 volumes, three double length issues essentially that are put together into this graphic novel.
yes.
Was that the idea? Like, how did you guys go about figuring out what length you wanted to assemble? There's 3 different artists for each of those 3 different chapters.
Yes.
Will Conrad is on the first, and
Jimbo Salgado is in the second, and Michael Montanat on the third. Yes,
right,
yeah.
and they're all fantastic.
They blended together real well, which
They did. I mean, it feels like Will set a tone, and everybody just said, "Here, we're going to go."
Yeah, yeah.
Was that the idea? How did that work for you guys in terms of figuring out what the process would be, or lengths?
Yeah, we were on some time restraints, and Renee was like, "No, we need to just take our time with this," and I'm the producer, drive forward. We got to get this done, and let's just get 3 different artists. And she's like, "Well, you don't understand. We got to get the reference first. We got to." I'm like, "Well, once we have the reference, we can." So it was a complete learning process for me, and we're very, very lucky to have the team that we had brought together. Like you'd mentioned, Troy and everyone, and Renee putting it together with all her people that she's brought into this to make this be a successful project.
So the next thing, is that going to be a graphic novel, or are you going to do something a little bit different, smaller size, bigger size? What's the ideas there?
We're planning on moving to single issues now. So the next will be a single issue. I believe it is 22 pages.
Right.
And then we're going to continue on, because what I really want to do is keep raising awareness for this topic and this subject, and keep raising awareness for Deliver Fund, so that they can keep doing what they're doing, and a portion of all proceeds is going to Deliver Fund from the book sales to help put an end to human trafficking.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. How did you get involved with Deliver Fund?
I just doing the research on the book and figuring out where we were going to have this story go. It is based loosely on some real things that have happened, and it is just horrific. And then I was reaching out to organizations. I did my research on Deliver Fund. I got to talk to Nick McKinley, the CEO and head of Deliver Fund, who is an ex-CIA operative, who helped us with some storylines and talked to us about the actual realities of the human trafficking worldwide, globally, and at home here in the United States. So it was something that I knew I needed to carry on and figure out how to give back. And this is where our journey is taking us.
So that's awesome. Deliver Fund is their tagline. I'm going to give you some info. It's Deliver Fund disrupts global human trafficking markets by combining uniquely qualified personnel with the best technologies, and then leveraging them in new ways to reach and rescue victims of human trafficking. So you found them through the process of making the book, is what you're saying?
Yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So the story came first, and that's like, okay, we gotta bring other people in here.
Yes. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit then about the inspiration for the story, which is the novel by John Saunders. What made you want to continue this franchise for him?
Yeah, like reading John's novel, it was dealing with Frank Kane rescuing a single girl. And we talked about it, Renee and I, and we wanted to expand the world, make it more modern, and figure out how we can bring more characters and build this world out so that it could carry on and keep going in the direction we wanted it to. So, that's where we got Amanda Harper from, and Helen and all these other characters that we brought in and created with Christopher to create this world so that we can carry it on and have kind of like our own ragtag group of
Yeah.
A-team or whatever you want to call them.
I mean, I don't want to spoil anything about this book, but the ending gets me excited. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier about the process where you have to, get reference. So how many reference shots did you have to provide? Because I mean, Frank Kane is you. There's like no question that you are Frank Kane visually, and I'm pretty sure that your wife is Helen. But like, was that a process? Did you kind of dress up for that? Was that something that you provided, or did people just grab stuff from you differently?
Yeah, I mean, we had the vest because we used the Last Spartan in our the last film that we did.
Yeah,
which was Penance Lane. So this is kind of a continuance of that also. So we had that to create the reference shots, and we would be Renee'd be posing me, and we'd jump on the motorcycle, take some pictures, or do whatever we had to get the reference shots to the artists. So
you had no idea all this stuff was involved in making a comic, right?
It was a long process, yeah, and then we brought in Ron Leary, who developed some stuff for us and created some looks. So we had a lookbook on it and all the characters. So yeah, it's been a long process.
That's fantastic. And so so this was kickstarted 2 years ago. Finally got it printed and in the hands of the backers, but now you've actually got enough that you're going to distribute it with Lunar, and it comes out next month. People can still, I think the FOC is next week, if I'm right.
Yeah, I believe it's the 22nd.
But check with your shop wherever you get comics, and make sure if that they can order it for you. Make sure you get it because it's coming. It's in the Lunar catalog. You can also get it on your website, which is mainentertainment.com. Is that right?
Yeah, or the lastspartan.com.
Lastspartan.com is a good place too.
Lastspartan.com, mainentertainment.com, tylermain.com. And like I say, a portion of the proceeds goes to Deliver Fund to help put an end to human trafficking, something that we really need to address in this day and age.
What do you think? What was the most surprising process for you about this process of making comics? Like, you had an idea, like, hey, we're gonna write something, somebody's gonna draw something, we're gonna print it. Like, what was the most surprising thing for you?
Oh wow, I would have to say the time element. From the beginning to the end, when we finally had the books in our hands, was just about a 3-year process.
Okay.
Because we were lucky enough to get Christopher, and he did it in between other writing gigs and stuff like that. So we had those delays, and then you're gathering your reference for this book, and then you have to get the first pages in and see how it's going to turn out before you can get it to the other artists. Sure. So it was a long process and of working through the difficulties of having 3 different artists working on the same book for continuity purposes and for references and all of that.
That's awesome. I mean, there's all those things that go into it. Can we pivot just a little bit? How did acting come about for you? And what is your favorite experience in fur?
I was a tall, skinny kid, glasses, braces, growing up in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada, that
Sure.
was slightly dyslexic, and I hated school.
Hmm.
So on the weekends, Stampede Wrestling would come about, and I would watch the Stampede Wrestling, which is a Canadian version with Stu Hart and his crew. And I'd watch whatever wrestling I could, and then after the wrestling, I would start watching action movies and anything. And on Sunday night, if you remember, there was The Wonderful World of Disney.
Sure.
I would watch that, and I'd like, and it'd be seasonal, so I'd hope for Davy Crockett or something really cool, And then I hated going back to school, and I said during that time that I'm going to do this. I'm going to become a pro wrestler and see, and I hope I can become an actor and do this too and escape reality.
You worked hard at wrestling. It was not an instant thing. You put in time and to get to where you were.
Yeah, I wrestled professionally for 11 and a half years all over the world,
Yeah.
and I believe I was the last person to wrestle Andre the Giant before he passed away in the Tokyo Dome in
Really?
no, yeah, in 1993.
That's
But
crazy. I
so
cannot believe he's been gone that long.
yeah, rest his soul, God rest his soul. And
Well, how tall are you? You're not that far from him height wise. How much? He's a little taller than you, is that right? But
yeah, I'm about 6'7", 6'8", but
okay.
he had several
Oh,
pounds on me.
well, yeah, yes, definitely pounds. Definitely pounds.
Definitely several pounds on me. But so then, I did one of those Mexican wrestling movies, and I realized, hey, I'm not getting dropped on my head. I'm getting fed well. I want to, and they paid me, so I'm like, hey, I'm going to do movies. And when I did X-Men
Yeah.
in '99, I hung up the wrestling boots for good, and
Sure.
have been doing nothing but the acting and producing and going in this
Listen, man,
direction.
it's a good job if you can get it.
Yeah,
I remember when you were cast in X-Men, and I'm like, that'll work. That'll work. It was, I didn't know that we were going to get Sabretooth in that movie, but I remember looking at you and seeing your size and how it would translate. And then when it happened and when it was, how was that process in terms of doing a movie, which is a big budget studio film where they're going to put you in a costume that and all that stuff. How was that process for you? As
yeah.
that much different than wrestling or?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was a total different journey. Um, well, first of all, my audition
Oh,
was I'll tell you I'll tell
I'll
you
take it.
about that. They were looking at me wanting me to do the stunts for it, first of all,
Okay. Sure.
and they were like, "Well, how are you with a decelerator, like 120, 140-foot decelerator?" I'm like, what?" 'Cause I'd wrestled. I hadn't done, high falls or anything like this. So I was like, "Oh, yeah, I could probably do that." And then Bryan Singer saw my picture because I had the long hair and the Fu Manchu at the time, and he said, "I wanna see him as Sabretooth." And when I got that call, I went kinda crazy. I went down, I was living in California. I went down to the valley and went to the comic book shop and said, "You got any comic books with Sabretooth in them? I need them." So I had this guy help me find a stack of comics, and I still got them to this day. And I was doing my research, and I was like, I got to get this role. So then I went down to Cinema Secrets down in the valley and got fake teeth and everything,
Okay.
and like I was like, I'm all in on this, right? And I go into the office and I go, "Okay, can I use the restroom?" And I went and put the poly grip and put the teeth in and all this, and I go for my meeting, and I knock on the door, and I go, "I'm here to see Mr. Singer." And this young kid is sitting typing on the edge of the couch, sitting on the arm. He doesn't even look up. He just goes like this. He goes, "Just a minute," and he's typing. probably typed for another probably 30 seconds. And he looks up and he goes, "Holy shit, you're Sabretooth. I'm Brian Singer."
That's awesome. That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah,
That's great.
and then the whole process of developing that character was just fantastic to see, working with Gordon Smith in Canada with the prosthetics and how they
Mhm.
added to the hair and all of that. And then going to New York to get the costume fit. That was like about 70, 80 pounds of leather and fur that I was wearing. And,
That
just the development of that and seeing the character come together and evolve and be created. I was like, yeah, this is Sabretooth,
yeah, that was awesome. It
and
was
looking at
great. And
comic.
you got to revive him, in
Yes,
Deadpool and Wolverine. What was that like?
that was a really good call to get.
Yeah.
you know, it was, my manager was like, "Hey, Sean wants to talk to you. Do you have time for a Zoom call?" I was gone for the weekend, so I was
Mhm.
busy doing business, and then come back on Monday and do the Zoom call. And he goes, "Do you know why I'm wanting to talk to you?" And I just kind of started grinning a bit. I go, "I hope so." And he goes, uh, "What would you feel? How would you feel about being Sabretooth again?" I said, "Hell yeah, let's do it." He
Yeah.
goes, "Oh, that was the easiest one. Let's do it." So, he goes in and it's a small part. It's just a quick cameo. And I go, "I'm fine with that. Just to be Sabretooth again would be amazing."
That's fantastic. I love hearing that. Because there's you have done so many different things, so many different creative things, but a significant, I would say, part of your world is going to fan conventions, all different types, and I'm sure you get that experience. What's that experience like for you? I mean, just we will post plug it, but you're going to one this weekend. You're going to be at Silver Scream Con or
Yes.
something like that in Worcester, Mass.
Yep. Yes.
But what is what's that like for you to interact with fans and be on that side of that rope?
It is fantastic. You get the instant feedback and people are always like, "Wow, you were my childhood," and stuff like this. It's fantastic to hear that. And also with the graphic novel and talking to people about
Sure.
raising the awareness of the human trafficking, just about at every convention I go to, there's at least a few people, one, two, or three people that the human trafficking has personally affect their lives. Either they are a first responder or someone from their family was just about taken.
Mhm.
Just to tell you a quick story, one of the conventions was at, I was talking with a gentleman, and he said his niece was just about taken. They drugged her in a club. Two guys were trying to take her out the back door. Luckily, one of the bouncers saw what was going on and stopped it. One of the guys got away, beat the hell out of the other one, and they tracked him back to a hotel where there were three other women that were drugged and handcuffed to the bed, and his niece was going to be the fourth. So he's like, "Thank you for raising awareness. This is something that people don't even realize is going on. And that is just one of the stories that I hear, horrific stories, and that's what compelled me to have to do something and give back and try and help make a difference in this world.
So as the Last Spartan evolves and continues to make more issues and more stories, that's going to be a partner to your publishing. Is that correct? Is that fair? The Deliver Fund is going to be somebody or something that cause is going to be something you guys are going to put mesh together with this franchise.
Most definitely. Most definitely. It's just raising the awareness for it and hopefully we can and that's why the book, hopefully families can read it together and open up discussions about it and learn and realize that they got to be safe out there because things do happen.
Yeah, absolutely. um, One of the things that I wanted to kind of really talk about was um, there's this difference between what people are, exposed to, and really today, you bringing it, having this book come out now is somewhat timely. It's something that people are thinking about more, unfortunately. Um, we want to bring awareness to safety, to people being safe, to to opposing and going, trying to eliminate violence, domestic or non, in our world. I really appreciate your, you know, determination in supporting this cause.
Yeah, it's just like I say, from the research and just seeing how serious it is, and seeing how it is affecting people, and it affects everyone. And the first responders that have to deal with it,
Sure.
it scars them too. And they say that if someone is taken for over 72 hours, it's hard for them to get their lives back. So there's a whole network of people working in on the back end trying to help these people that have gone through a situation like this to regain their lives and get back to somewhat of a normal life. So it is just something that really needs to be brought to the forefront. It's been going on for the dawn since the dawn of time. I mean,
Sure.
let's face it. It is something, and if we can make a dent in it and stop it, like with me, being a father of two kids, you worry about your kids, you worry about your spouse, and
Hmm.
you want people to be safe, and hopefully this can open up some people's eyes and go, "Oh, hey, I better look over my shoulder a little bit and be, you know, watching out."
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that struck me about the graphic novel was the feeling of reality that that's really intertwined with it. Like there's time frames and there's things that the characters are like, okay, well, I know this, and they speak with a level of certainty and authority that, like, okay, well, these are things that happen, and you either as a reader believe it, and or you may even check it, and there's so
Yeah.
many things that there are there's almost like warnings and things that you need to do and be aware of, and a lot of the kind of narration that goes along with. First of all, the framing sequence of this whole story is just brilliant. There's a huge reveal at the end that's just really amazing, and the way that everything's framed, just the way that the scenes cut from piece to piece is one of the things I haven't said yet, but it struck me as I'm reading it. And I read comics with a particular eye, kind of an editor's eye, and just the way that the story unfolds and how you cut scene cuts back to something else, and you're like, oh yeah, there are things that come back later on that you were mentioned earlier. Brilliant stuff.
Yeah, a lot of people, that have read it and looked at it, and when I do go to these conventions, I have preview copies of the first issue, and people will take it and they'll go read it and come back and see me the next day, and they'll be like, I was reading this and I had to go back a few pages to read and check it out, and yeah, this is so that's the kind of layout that Christopher was wanting to do. You're telling the story, showing some things, and then they pay off in the end, and
Yeah.
it's the reveal is everything.
So X-Men was your entry into acting, right? And more came from that. Like, how was that process for you once you had been on this big screen as in this big major motion picture? What happened from there for you?
Yeah, I just really realized that I wanted to pursue it and follow it, and so that's what I did. I continued on and was very lucky and blessed to get roles like Troy, where I played King Ajax with Brad Pitt, and then working with Rob Zombie on the Halloween franchise and being Michael Myers in that, and
So what was that like? I mean, how did when when you were approached and he said he wants you to be Michael Myers, like, was there? Did you think about it for a second, or was it just yes?
Well, yeah, I did think about it. It was the. Let me go back a step. I'd auditioned for The Devil's Rejects for a different role that I did than I did in The Devil's Rejects. I ended up replacing Rufus from The House of the Thousand Corpses, and I was on set for 4 days, and got along real well with Rob and everybody else there. And then about 2 years later, the phone rings and Rob says, "Hey, I got this movie, and if you're not going to do it, I don't want to do it." So, you know, so he laid out how he was going to tell his story of Halloween and show that he's a three-dimensional character, tell the backstory and how he evolves and how he's a product of his environment. And I was hooked. I was like, all right, sounds good. Let's do it. And that was one of the tougher roles that I've had. People go, "Oh, well, he doesn't speak, but he has to convey his emotions through movement." So for that, I went and watched a lot of Boris Karloff and stuff like that, and just tried to figure out. And the wrestling helped me with that, helped with the movement and how I wanted to have show the arc and how Michael Myers evolved from the asylum, where I would shuffle and then as he became the character and the killing machine that he was, then Michael Myers was there and full on. So it was a great acting experience.
That's great. That's really interesting. So, do you? I have this question. So, what's harder, wrestling, acting, or writing?
Oh, writing.
Really?
For me, yeah.
Well,
Yeah. I have,
why?
I've got these great ideas and I put them down and I need somebody, like with my dyslexia and stuff, I need somebody to come in and help me shuffle all the pieces, sort of like
Okay.
a shell game, to bring it all together.
Does that work? Is Renee your partner with that? Is that how that works for you? Are there other people involved?
Yeah, she'll help me and I'll have her look at some stuff that I'm coming up with, and she's a great writer herself, with
Sure.
the editing that she's done and stuff. And so
Absolutely.
yeah, we make a great team like that.
That's awesome. Well, I have a bunch of comics. There's like 10,000 comics over here that like she's got a bunch of them in there. So
Yeah.
so but yeah. So when you were cast as Ajax, right? That's another thing where it's very physical. A lot of the roles you're in have been very physical. A decent number have been not really speaking roles where you need to be that physical actor, and
Right.
you've excelled at it. So what was it like working on that film that was just with tons and tons of people?
Oh, I mean, it was a fantastic, fantastic experience. And it is a little daunting, when you're walking on set with Brad Pitt and all of them, and
Sure.
and you hear action, and you're like, oh, wait, that's my, I got this. you
There's the
know,
guy from Saskatoon's out here trying to
right?
wield a sword or something, right?
Yeah, but it was an unbelievable learning experience working with all of them. Eric Bana and like, we rehearsed that fight in front of the gates of Troy for 3 months prior.
Really?
We went and shot in Malta, and we rehearsed for 3 months in Malta, and then we came and shot for 3 months in Cabo, where they had the full gates of Troy and did the actual fight and scenes there, and the whole storm up the beach and all of that. So it was amazing to be part of such a epic film like that,
Sure. Well, epic is the word, right?
Yeah, yeah, it was.
Um, That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm so happy to have this conversation with you. I really have enjoyed talking about the book that you're working on and how important it is to you. It- we know that it's got an important subject matter. It's a good story. Like, and that's what it comes down to when you're making a comic or any type of thing. It's got to be a story that's engaging, and you can't be preaching at people, and it doesn't. It's not preachy. I love the fact that it is telling the story. I also love the fact that as you turn the page at the end of the chapter, they're like, hey, while you're thinking about this, here's the liver fund, or
Yes.
here's something else. I like the fact that you incorporated you did incorporate ads at the appropriate times that are appropriate to the subject matter. But like, is it rewarding when you get it finished and you've gotten the story laid out, right? And then you get all the pages back. You have this final copy. What's that feel like for you? Different? Is it different than going to see a movie in a theater?
It's quite a bit like making a movie,
Hmm.
because from the script you have to what you shoot to the final edit, it's all different than you expected. And it's kind of the same with doing a book like this. Like you say, it's a grounded, it's a real story. There's no one running around in tights and with capes and
Right.
superhuman powers and all of this that you can just, you know, this is reality. So that was the hard part of this, is to make this story compelling and grounded and real, and so people could take away from it and go, wow, this is a subject that needs to be discussed.
So there's a comment here. In your experience, in your research, is there something that you have learned that you share with people about preventing human trafficking?
Yeah, you have to be aware of your surroundings, and not walk alone at night, no matter who you are, and just be aware, protect yourself, have your wits about you at all times, look over your shoulder all the time, because you never know what what could happen. You got to be aware at any moment, and especially if you are going into some kind of a establishment where there are drinks flowing and stuff like that. Make sure you cover that drink up, or don't take a drink from someone else, because you never know what you're going to be getting in it.
That's fantastic. It's good stuff. I want to share just a little bit. Let's look at the book a little bit for a second. Hang on a second. Remove this. Put this in. Here we go. This book is fantastic. Um, these, like I said, we talked about earlier about some of the reference, right? And just the way that everything flows with this, from this particular opening scene and how it relates to what happens later and how it is revealed. But Will Conrad's art is fantastic. I mean, just the coloring with the way that it's worked out. But the introduction of this character, the Amanda
Yeah, Amanda Harper. Yeah,
Harper
you get
character,
you get her backstory at the beginning, and
but you don't get all of it, right? That's
no,
the
no,
best part, right?
you
There,
don't.
you think you got it,
Yep,
but
and they're all a bit of a mystery, and hopefully we get chances to reveal their stories and pepper them their experiences throughout. So
was that a turning point, bringing that character, the Amanda Harper character, in? Was that in terms of unlocking the story and where it can go?
yeah, most definitely, because it brought into the modern day world of what is really kind of going on.
Sure.
They do have these decoys there. There are people that are pretending to be people in the chat rooms catching these guys.
Mhm.
So it is something that I realized that I really wanted to have in the story, because it is a very real situation. There are these people out there doing this very difficult job that needs to be done.
So, also there's, oops, somebody saying hi.
Ah, I like that. Hi,
Um,
yeah.
so, besides the human trafficking awareness part of this story, what do you want people to think about this book that you've created? What do you want them to take away about this, gritty story with these characters who, I've fallen in love with. I want to see more of. What do you hope people get?
Yeah, I hope they just realize that it's a real grounded story and that and want to go on Frank Kane's journey and his story of redemption and coming from where his background is and to where he's having to go and to do. It is it is a very deep subject, but we wanted it to be entertaining and compelling at the same time. So
That's awesome. I want to thank you for being here. Is there anything else you want to get, to the people we have out here, the people listening and watching before we let you go?
yeah, no, I mean, I just really appreciate your support. It is a very serious topic. And please check it out, thelastSpartan.com,
Yep.
tylermain.com, mainentertainment.com. You can see it there. Go to your local comic book shop, ask them to bring it in, and I would greatly appreciate it.
And you can find Tyler at Silver Screen Con this weekend in Worcester, Mass.
Yes.
You have other places people can come see you?
Yeah, you can go to tylermain.com and look at the
List of
schedule there
appearances.
and the appearances, and I'm somewhere just about every weekend through the Halloween season. So,
Oh, that's awesome.
and we're
That's
also lining up book signings at comic book shops for next year. So if someone
That's great.
has a shop and wants to do a signing, please get in touch with me.
Well, I'm hoping you'll come to Maryland. I'll come see you, and we'll get to say hi to get in person.
That would be great.
All right, Tyler, thank you so much for being here. We're excited about the book. We're excited about more in this franchise. Really, really appreciate you being here. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much for having me. Take care. Everybody stay
Absolutely.
safe. Peace.
All right. All right, folks. Thank you so much for being here on this this different night for us. It was a Thursday night. We had a great audience. We had a great guest. I had a lot of fun talking to him. What a wonderful man. Thanks everybody for being here. We'll be back on Tuesday night. Zach Quaintance is going to be here for launching his Kickstarter, and we will be talking about that then. I'm going to be at SPS this weekend. If anybody's there, come say hi. We'll stay close and be aware of our social medias because we're probably going to be posting a bunch of stuff this weekend. Again, thank you guys for being here. Thank you for showing up. Please take a look at this book. Please take a look at deliverfund.org. They're a good organization who is trying to make some good in this world. And we're thankful to Tyler for raising that awareness. If you haven't already, please like, follow, subscribe, whatever it is you're doing, however you're seeing this. If you're watching it now on Thursday night, great. If you're watching it later, that's great too. We do have a podcast in the YouTube, so you can just subscribe to the podcast and get that. You'll see our videos as they come out, which is every Tuesday. Anyway, I just want to say thanks to everybody, and we will see you later. Be safe and have a good night. See you later.
This has been a production of the Pop Culture Squad Network. PopCultureSquad.com. How do you nerd?